Daf Chav Ted Amud Aleph, second line. Let me have it to you for Rav Yosef. We said earlier the mahlok between Rabbi Tarfon and Rabbi Akiva, whether or not you're allowed to use money that you find. Let's take the question against Rav Yosef. Because why did Itmar says in the Braita? Shomer Avidav, someone is watching a lost object. Rabba Amar Kishomer Hinam Rabba says he's like a free watcher, unpaid custodian who's patur for any losses. There's the Amar Kishomer Sachar. Rav Yosef says he's like a paid one who's chayav for certain losses. Rav Yosef therefore is like a combination of both Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Tarfon. Question against him. Gemara says, Rabbi Yosef would answer you no. And regarding if it gets stolen or lost, both of them would agree with chayav because at minimum you're like a paid watchman because you get hana'ah by being able to watch this guy's item for him, you're patur from other mitzvot, etc. Keep pligi. When do they disagree? However, is be'onasin de shoel, accidents which only a borrower will be a chayav, right? So the four watchmen, we just mentioned a free one, a paid one, a renter, and a borrower. A borrower is only patur if there's a complete accident. So Rabbi Tarfon holds since Chachamim allowed you to use the item, the money from the sale of the item that you found, and you found the baseball, you sold it, now you want to use the money. So since you're allowed to use it, therefore you're considered borrower, and therefore you're chayav for accidents. Rabbi Akiva holds you have no permission to use the money, therefore you're not considered a borrower, and you'll be patur. That's the case. The Mishnah said earlier that you can use it lefikach. Therefore, if you lose it, you're chayav. So now, the way we just answered the question, Rabbi Tarfon, or Rabbi Yosef, sorry, the Mishnah doesn't make sense anymore. The Gemara doesn't spend like 6 lines explaining the question. It makes sense if we're referring to theft and loss. That's your chayav. That's where you'll be chayav for losing the money. That's why the Mishnah says, Rabbi Kiva says, don't use it. Therefore, because then if it's lost, then you're patur. Because you're not allowed to use it. You might think Shomer Sachar said therefore because he might be considered a paid watchman like Rabbi Yosef, even by theft or loss, and even if he's not allowed to watch, even though he's not allowed to use the money. Therefore, the word lefikach, therefore, the Mishnah teaches you, since you're not allowed to use it, Shomer Sachar lo havi, not considered a paid watchman, you're patur for theft or loss. Now, but if you're saying now, you're chayav for sure by theft or loss. Keep pligi bonus nishon, they're only disagreeing regarding an accident, like by a shoel, like a borrower, like we said. What's the word of lefikach teaching you? It should have said, Rabbi Akiva says, don't use it. And I would know automatically, since you're not allowed to use it, not a borrower, you're therefore you patur. Why would you need to say therefore? Right? It's obvious. If you can't use it, you're not a borrower, you're patur. Why you say and therefore if it's lost, you're patur? I know that already. So how do we explain what's going on? So we say no, mishum lefikach Rabbi Tarfon. We say no, the reason why it says lefikach by Rabbi Akiva is because we've already said it by Rabbi Tarfon. Rabbi Tarfon, it was necessary, and or we're about to see why, and therefore we wanted to keep it matching up, and therefore we did it by Rabbi Akiva as well. How come we need to do by Rabbi Tarfon? Hachi kama. Given the shadow of Rabbanan l'shemush kavayo, since the Chachamim allowed to use the money, it's if you use it, therefore you're a borrower. You're chayav for accidents, even if you didn't even use it yet. Very big chidush. But the Mishnah said that if you lost it, right? So if you lost it, that's not considered an answer. That's not an honest. That's not an accident that a borrower will be chayav. Lost is something else. The Gemara said no. According to Rabba's explanation, but it seems if it's lost via money getting stolen by armed robbers, that's considered honest. Or if it was lost by a ship sinking at sea, those are unavoidable losses. And therefore, if he's considered a bar if he's not considered a bar patur. And generally, that you can use the money. Now we're going to talk a story about that. Rabbi Chava had money in his possessions that belonged to orphans. Asked him, he said to him, can I use it right now? Can I put it into a bank to get 5% APR? He told him, we know Rabbi Bitafon is allowed to use it. Rabbi says, whoa, but we know. Only time you can use the money is when you sold the item that you found, and therefore you're using the cash to use. Because you already took care of the item already and taking care of the lost item, and then you sold it. But if you're holding money from the start, well, you didn't work anything, you're just holding an envelope. Look, you can't use them. Now, this money belonging to the orphans are also considered like lost money that you found, and therefore you should not be able to use it. Sorry, you have no permission to use it. Okay, new Mishnah. But since we found books. Books are like scrolls. Back then, that's how they had it. They had it in scrolls. You should use it every once in 30 days to make sure that they air out and they don't get moldy. If you don't know how to read it, go online, just read it, just roll it in and out to air it out. But you should not study for the first time, because studying for the first time will be extensive exposure and that will cause damage. Don't have another person reading with you, because that will cause it to be tugged back and forth and tear. Matzak should be found a garment. Maybe shake it out every 30 days. And spread it out as necessary to make sure it doesn't get moths and stuff. So we spread it out. But don't do it for your own honor. Don't decorate your home with it. If you have silver or copper utensils, you can use them as necessary for their needs. But don't not too much to wear it down. If you want to use it so it doesn't get disgusting, you can, but don't use it too much. Gold and glass utensils, which can last without any problems. Don't touch it. Put it in the safety deposit block until the Hanavi comes and you find the owner. If you found a bag or a box, anything that you wouldn't pick up. It would be beneath your dignity to pick it up. Your plastic bag flew out of your car down the street. You won't get up out of your car to get it. I don't need it. So if that's the case, Zahar has tell you don't have to pick it up and announce it, because if you wouldn't pick it up for yourself, you have no reason to lower yourself for the Avodah. Shmuel says, we found in the marketplace, sell it right away. Ravina has a question. The Mishnah said that if you found a sefer, and you read it every 30 days, if you don't know how to read it, roll it. You should roll it. But you shouldn't sell it. How come you selling tefillin? A different reason, because tefillin we had a lot of tefillin sold by Barahavu, therefore you can replace it. But you can't sell books because it's hard to replace books. If you're borrowing a sefer Torah from your friend, don't lend it out to someone else. You have no business lending out something that you borrowed. You should open it and read it. Don't read it for the first time. Don't learn it the first time, like we said, like our Mishnah. You don't want to use it too much. Don't have someone else read with you. Additionally, if someone leaves a sefer Torah with his friend, you should roll it back and forth every 12 months. You can open and read it. But if you open it for himself, asur. We'll explain what is going on. Samchu says, with a new sefer Torah, you should roll it every 30 days. With an old sefer Torah, every 12 months. Both of them are 12 months, which is seemingly the same opinion as Tanakama, but we'll talk about it. Okay, Maramor. We said if you borrow a sefer Torah from your friend, you can't lend it out. Says, anything that you borrow, you can't lend it out. Over here, Rabbi taught, a borrower is not permissible to lend it to someone else. And no renter can't rent it out to someone else. You can't sublease or sublend. So how come mention Sefer Torah? The Gemara says Sefer Torah is Sefer Torah, because Martim, you might think a person wants mitzvah to be done with his items, right? If you have a love and someone wants to use it, it's tefillin, you say Fadal, no problem, use it. Kamash Sefer Torah is different though, because it's much more expensive. Boy says you open and read it. The Gemara says Pshita. But if you're borrowing Sefer Torah, of course you want to read it. So why would you need to tell you could read it? Because you need to teach me the second part as well. When you use it, don't use it too much for the first time. V'china kid sefer Torah me'achav someone else leads a sefer Torah with his friend. Go look. You roll it every 12 months. You open and read it. What does he have right to read it? But two, additionally, in Bishop Asur says that if you open it for your own reasons, you're Asur. But you said you're able to read it. We say Im kishhugolo, while you're rolling it, you open it and start reading. Oh, that's my Mitzvah Parsha. You can do it. Mutar. In Bishlo Petachol, but if you're opening it up to find Mitzvah Parsha, Asur. Sumcho Zomar Simcho says, Behadash Shoshim Yom 30, new Sefer Torah, you roll every 30 days. Biyashan Shnei Chodesh, an old one every 12 months. He says both of them 12 months. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, Rabbi Eliezer and Yaakov both hold the same thing every 12 months. Doesn't make a difference new and old. What's the Chidush Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov? Emma will explain Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov differently. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov, both Sefer Torahs are 30 days. Okay, don't study from Sefer Torah for the first time. Has someone read with you. For 1 second, a person who found the Torah should not read and then review it. You should not read and do targum with it also because that's exposing it too much. Don't open more than 3 columns at a time. It's like a tear. There should not be 3 people reading from the same column at the same time. But we see 2 is allowed. Our Mishnah said that 1 person is allowed and not 2. So what's the chidush? Well, how come there is 3 but 2 mutar? Over here is 1 and is good and 2 is asur. In the Mishnah's case, referring 2 people to read in 1 part. That's asur because they'll pull. But our Breitag, which says you could read 2 different people, is 2 different columns, and they're not going to pull because they each have their own space. Next part of the Mishnah said, Matzah kesud min ha'ara echad l'shishim. When you found a garment, shake it out every 30 days. Does that mean the shaking the garment is good for the garment? Rabbi Yochanan says, so whoever is a professional weaver in his house, shake out your garment every day. If you have someone to fix your clothing, you should shake it out every day. So we see shaking is not good for the garment. True. Every day is bad for it. But Mishnah said do it every once in 30 days, that's beneficial. When 1 person is shaking it out, it's okay. When 2 people are shaking it out, they pull it, that will cause it tear. But the end of the answer, when you're shaking it by hand, it's not bad, but when you're shaking it with a stick, that can tear it. But the different answer, wool can tear when you shake it. But the right Mishnah says that you shake it a lot is by linen, that won't tear. Rabbi Yochanan says, Kasa de Harshin. A person should more be inclined to drink a cup prepared by sorcerers, which we try to avoid because of problems. Don't drink a cup of lukewarm water because that's dangerous. Not only referring to metal utensil, but earthenware utensil, no problem drinking it. Nami, also metal utensil, it's only when it's not boiled. But it's boiled, no problem. No issues inside of it. That also when water is only bad when there's no other ingredients mixed into it. However, but if something else is mixed into it, there's no objection. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is. Probably health reasons. Next, Hidush. Whoever his father left them inheritance. A lot. But he wants to lose it. He's giving you reverse advice, right? Don't do this if you want to keep your money. Yilbash wear linen clothing, use glass utensils, and hire workers and don't supervise. Wear linen clothing, wear expensive Roman linen, which wears out quickly. Use glass utensils. Zugita, which is referring to white glass, which breaks easily. And hire workers, don't sit with them, referring to Targima, oxen drivers, that if you don't supervise them, they'll waste a lot of money. All right, so he's basically telling you this is the way people waste their money if they're not careful with it. Okay. Next part of the Mishnah said, when you find a garment, you should spread it out for its needs, but not for your own honor. You might have a question. What if you do 2 for 1? You'll get an honor by hanging out this item in your house. And it's also good for it. 2 for 1. You let it do it or not? Tashma bring a proof from our Mishnah. Spread out for its needs. It sounds like only for its needs. But not for both. The Gemara says, 1 second, it's not a good proof. When we say for the second part, it says, don't do it for your own honor. You can't do it for your own honor. Maybe it could be done for both. Right? So we can't infer from our Mishnah. Let's bring a proof else from elsewhere. Tashma. A person finds a garment, don't spread it out over a bed. Don't spread it out over a peg. Because one second, if he's doing it for his own needs. But you can do it over a bed or a peg for its needs. If he has visitors, don't put it on the bed. Not over the peg as well. Whether or not it's for his needs or its needs. So we see seemingly that if you can do it over that if you're spreading out the garment and you could technically do both, you should be able to. The Gemara says no. Shani Hatam over there is different. The reason why it sounds like you can't do it if it fulfills for both. The Gemara says not a good proof because maybe you could be allowed, but the reason why you can't do it over there by guests is for different reasons. Because by displaying it in front of the guests, you're destroying it. You can destroy it. How? Either because of Ma'arid Ayin, or maybe one of them will steal it. But maybe it would be mutar. Tashma is a different proof. If let's say a guy has a calf that was going to be used for Eglah Rufa. So two animals, an Eglah Rufa and a Para Aduma. These two animals, Eglah Rufa, as we know, is an animal that's being brought as a Qurban to be mechaper, a corpse that was found between two cities. So both a rat and a Para Aduma, a red cow, in order to be kasher, they're not allowed to have any work done with it. So let's say you have this calf and you want it to tie it to its mother while the mother is working so that it can nurse. Vidashan, while it's working, it also thrushes, which is work. Kesherat's kasher, because that wasn't your intention. Let's say you did it so that it should nurse and thresh. Over here in the second case, it's a case concept where we have the owner's needs and its own needs. We see it's pasu. So we see maybe also by here, but regarding the avidah should be pasu, not allowed. The says no. Shani happen, but the case of the garment is different. The Amar Pasuk says asher lo ubad bah. One work was not done with it, which means mikol makom, any type of work at all should be making it invalid. The Gemara says, "Ihachi, that's the case. How come in the first case with no intention, also it should be pasul? How come it works?" The Gemara says, "No, because we learned this concept elsewhere as well. Where by paraduma, shechan aleha. If a bird rested upon the paraduma keshiraz patur, it's still kasher because it doesn't make a difference to the owner." But if the bull mounted it and mated with it, pasul, it's pasul because that is beneficial to the owner. So we see over there, my time, what's the reason that it's pasul by mating but mutar if a bird sits on it? Explains by Glarufa. The pasuk says if the pasuk had said ubad, yani work can't be done. Ubad, and it's pronounced as ubad. Even when you don't care about it, it will be pasul. Viktiv avad, if only written avad, the clean avad, and it was pronounced avad, havamina adda avad ba'ihu. Sounds like if he actually did it, not if it happened by itself. Hashav the clean avad, but now that it's written as ayin bet dalit, the clean ubad, and it's pronounced as if it had a vav, ba'inan ubad b'miyad avad. It has to be a working, similar to past tense working, which is what? Ma avad nenichele, af ubad nenichele. The only work that makes this animal pasul, whether or by the calf, is when it's beneficial to the guy and the guy wants it to happen. Therefore, in the case of the calf, the only time it's pasul is if the calf you sent it out to thresh and nurse, but not if it threshed by accident without your intention. We'll stop here. Amen.